Today's daf is daf Lamed Zayin. We're up to the Mishnah and Lamed Vav Amud Beis. Now we're talking about the processes of the bezin. We're talking about till now. Also not talking about the protocols of the bezin, the setup of the bezin. So Sanhedrin Hoyse Kechati Goylin Agula. The Sanhedrin itself sat like a semicircle. And why is that important? Today Shehei Royin is there. We want them all to be able to see each other. And if you have a full circle, even though they also see each other, then the person who will be testifying will be standing with his back to half the audience and his front to the other half of the audience. We can't have that. Exactly. And it's important to see the face. So therefore, we have them a semicircle and everybody talks. They talk to everybody together. Ushnei Sefer had before. Shnei Sefer doing the Mishnah Lam Zayin Lamavava Bezer Shnei Sefer Adayani. The two scribes, Einin its name, stand before him. Echad Miyamin ve'Echad Mismarel. One on the right side, one on the left side. Ve'Koisvin, and they write Divrei Mechayva and Divrei Bezakin. They write. They write the divrei. So the Machlekes Rashi and the Rambam exactly how to learn. Rashi learns that each one of them writes both. So they would write whatever the person, those dayanim who want to pardon this person and exonerate the person, and those dayanim who want to who incriminate the person, and they would write both. Remember we learned before, you have to write the svaras down, and that's what they did. The Rambam says no. One person was dedicated to write those who mazaka, and the other person was there to write down those who incriminate. Then, however, if you disagree, he says shloisha. There were three. Why? Echad kaiser divra mazakin. The echad kaiser chavin. One, if you only wrote one side of the tainus, you had more time, so you would be a bit more specific and be more elaborate. And then the shlishi, the third one, would write both. Divra mazakin a bit more shorthand or a bit no less. So if in case there's any questions, discrepancies, we can look, compare the two and then remind them what exactly was said. There were 3 rows of Talmidei Chachamim, 3 rows, 23. There were 23 per row, so really it was 69. Now, why do you have? Rashi explains very nicely why did you have to have 3 rows? The row in front of them is in case dayanim leave. You have to have already a pool of people who are potential candidates. Now, also we need more than that. We also need, in case, and we learned before, if one of the dayanim say ain't the yedeya, you load up with another two, go up to 71. We hold 71. So if you have 23, how many more do you need to get to 71? The maximum, another 48. The problem is you need another 48 potential dayanim sitting there. The problem, what are you going to do? If you can have 2 rows of 24, which makes 48, that means the students outnumber will be larger groups than the dayanim, pasnished. And therefore, to be symmetric, each group should be equal to the dayanim, 23. But 2 groups of 23 is only 46. So if you can have the third group only 2, it looks totally inadequate. So you have 3 groups of 23. Okay, so you have 69 additional. And they were not sitting there at random. It went from the top, those are the most learned, to the lowest, the least eminent. And when we had to choose dayanim to replace we had to choose a student to get smicha to be replaced one of the dayanim, they would take from the Aleph Shema Aleph. Like Free Rebbe had 3 groups, the group Aleph, group Beis, and group Gimel. You had the same thing. You have Aleph, Beis, Gimel, and within Aleph itself, you have Aleph Shema Aleph, Beis Shema Aleph, Gimel Shema Aleph, and they work their way up. Okay, what is it? Let's say you needed someone to replace, somebody died, or went to the bathroom, somebody died. You take from the first row, Echad min hashniya bola l'rishayna, echad shiz bola l'rishayna. Then everyone moves up 1 row. Boilem oid echad min hakol, but then there's a vacant seat now in the last row of 23. You just choose somebody, again, another potential student to join. Don't say, well, the first seat is empty, let's get the guy from the call to come the first seat. No, you go in and we work our way upwards. Okay, so meritocracy works over there, nothing else. Says the Gemara, how do you know that you have to sit in the semicircle? It says in the pasuk, it says that your navel is agan hasoyer. It looks like the moon, round shaped. And you shouldn't dilute. You shouldn't lose the dilution. Now, you remember we had different ways of the journey. But Rava told us how to dilute wine. The dilution generally was 2 to 1. 2 water and 1 wine, because they had much stronger grapes in those days, 2 to 1. So same thing over here. There has to be navel, has to be round, and it has to be 2 to 1. So you have to have, it's 3, a total of 3. And again, we explain why you can't have a full circle, because then the Adim and the Baldinim will be with the back to half the Dayanim. We want them to face all the Dayanim. Now, what does that do, Sanhedrin? Shirad is Sanhedrin, Lom Nigashma Shadeh, Sheyeshevet, B'tibudi Shalom, sits in the center of the world. So interesting, Yerushalayim is the center of the world. Others want to say Yerushalayim is the center of Eretz Yisrael, but it's not the center of Eretz Yisrael. So Yerushalayim is the center of the world. Agan Shimagina Kolam Kule. The word Agan is in protecting the entire world. Hasoya, the moon, she daimil the soya. In a way, it looks like the moon in the shape. And al yachasar hamaza, we don't want that the dilution. Al yachasar hamaza, we don't want the dilution to be more. What does that mean? So if one of them have to go out, Rashi actually says he went to the bathroom. If there's potential to replace him, he can go out. He cannot go out. Otherwise, you have to have enough people there to satisfy him. But we learned before already, if he's going for a mitzvah, the tires and anything go out. Remember, we have come to Elisa, we're talking about the Zakamambre, where did he meet him? And we said the only way it's possible is they're going to Egla Rufa. We're discussing Egla Rufa. There's a tires and heading go. So do you see that the tires heading does leave by mitzvah? We're talking about he's going to own personal needs. Okay, it says in another passage, talking about the Sukkim, it says, Bitnecha, and that same passage it says, your stomach is arimas chitim, is like a pile of wheat. What does that have to do with that? Ma arimas chitim. We're still talking about the Sanhedrin, same pasuk, shorech. Just like a pile of wheat, hakel nenin, everyone enjoys it. The same thing. Af Sanhedrin hakel nenin mita'amehen. Now, interesting. It doesn't say everyone has a nod from the psakim. They have a nod from the timing that they give behind the psak. Even though we said before, you don't have to really give a reason. But Bezin give a reason. But it looks like Sanhedrin, because you would go to Sanhedrin, we learn all about Sanhedrin, and ask him questions, that none of the other Bata didn't know, and they would illuminate all the Bata didn't know how the din should be. So that's the tamen. That's really where they are superior to everybody else. Okay, the pasuk, another pasuk is the same pasuk says the end. Suga b'shashanim. They have a fence of roses. What does it mean, suga b'shashanim? Usually a fence has to be made out of stones, bricks, but even a fence of roses is enough. That will stop us from doing Avedis. We don't need to be given all these kind of warnings, harsh warnings. Even a little fence like roses is enough to prevent us from doing an Aveda. Even though the roses have these prickly thorns, it's not such a, in a way it hurts more. But you could go through it if you want to, if you really want to. But that's enough to prevent us from going through it. Deterrent. This min. You say how can we allow a married couple to stay together if she's a nida? If you have a fire there with a flax, it won't catch on, it won't get caught. How can you? And we know yichud is also and so on. How can it be? And Teacher explains even though yichud also matayda, there is talking about an erva, let's say. They're talking about which never becomes mutter to you. Mashengen and nida becomes mutter to you tomorrow. Therefore, it doesn't fall in the isra of yichud. So but this guy said in logic, how can you hold yourself back? Amalesa kind of said suga bashashanim, that the hachak whatever we have there is enough already to keep us. We won't do the Aveda, even a little fence made out of roses. The Shlokish says from the following pasuk. It says, and we darshan that your temples like the Chorim, like a pomegranate. She said the skin of pomegranate. So we darshan rekosa means that rekonin shabach. Even those who have no mitzvahs, Malay mitzvahs, even the pustik mentioned there, the empty ones, nevertheless are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. The famous myth that there are 613 seeds in a pomegranate. The Satmar Chassid once went to the Rebbe to ask for a bracha for children, and the Rebbe said it was Chafal Kislev, and you make a big suda. The Satmar Rebbe was saved after the Holocaust on that day. What David Taylor was said by the Satmar Rebbe. He told me he made a siyum said chagiga, and this is on this Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says over there that that I feel that they couldn't shabach malay mitzvah and he asked the question that since they were the shoyim, how can you call them malay mitzvah? The Rebbe said when he learns the Gemara, he has a very similar question, but a little bit different. Since the Gemara says the malay mitzvah how can you call them they couldn't? That they couldn't. Rav Zayda said we learn from here. It says in the pasuk that Yitzchak over there smelled Yaakov, and it says, he smelled the begodav. I think begodav ella boigdav. Now what? He smelled the bite of those who breach, those who don't follow the what do you call it? He smells the begodav. That begodav there prevents the boigdav from doing any avedas. I mean, there was these Briyonim that lived in the neighborhood of Zayd, having Makalu, that they were Makalu. They were Briyonim. They were bullies. Yeah, wild. Yeah, and reckless and carefree. And the Zayda was Makar of them. Behaved like a Chabad, and he was trying Makar of them. He wanted they should do tshuva. Now the Kopter Rabbanon, the Rabbanon felt that he shouldn't have done it. Now, why exactly were they makpid? Not clear. But this and interesting to figure out what the point of the story is, because Gemara says when he passed away, Amri they said Eden until now have a charicha cotton shake. They nicknamed him. He was very very short. It's like he was called Rab Zayda. Zayda was like a nickname in a way for being very very short, like a dwarf. And he once jumped into an oven and he burnt his legs. So they called him Charicha Katan Shake. Kozman, he was alive. We could do Avedas. We felt comfortable that he would always daven if Chashon didn't work out. Hash the man boiler Achme, who's going down for us? Eat of the Tshuva. So what's exactly the Gemara trying to say? What's the point of the story? The Gemara saying that you shouldn't be Makada people, or that what's the Gemara trying to say here exactly? Don't know. Leave it up to you. There's a particular Maisa here. Anyway, so we're talking about the Rekonin, the Rekon of Malay Mitzvah, so somehow or another this connects to that you see that they have potential. Everyone has a potential for going about Shuvah. The question is only how you deal with that about Shuvah. And for whatever reason, these particular Briyanim should have been dealt maybe differently. I don't know. Shalosh Shudas, 3 rows. When they move, they all move forward. You don't just say fill up that one position. Every single Talmud moves forward. So the Aleph Shabbat moves forward, and then everyone that row moves forward, and the next row moves forward. Why can't they say the guy from row number 2, who was the first guy in row number 2, now suddenly becomes the end of row number 1. So he can argue. In a way, you lowered me. This is what you say. Famous saying, pretty obvious. The 2 conflicting statements we have. One place we say, and then we say here, Havizonov la'aroyes. There's better be a tail to aroyes than a roish shol. So Arosh Hashanah we say, Yeh lirosh lo yeh lizonov. What exactly does it mean? Yeh lirosh. I should say Yeh roish. We should be a head, but lo yizonov, not a tail. Yeh lirosh. So we're davening at Rosh Hashanah that everyone else should be smart enough to attach ourselves to a Rebbe and to be connected to a Rosh. It's Lirosh, to a Rosh. Okay. So you want to case my Edim, now the process of a bezin. How do you intimidate the Edim? You're supposed to intimidate somewhat. When it comes to matters of life and death, they bring them in, and they would sort of intimidate them. They would say sort of Shemra, Taimra, Muhammad. Is this purely speculation, or you're assuming? It is assumptions? Did you hear it? Did you hear from another person who testified? A live person? In other words, did you actually see it, or you just made assumptions, or you heard hearsay? And leave the guys before you begin. Don't you know we're going to cross-examine you? Have a yidin, you should know din imamas din in the fashion. It's not the same thing. Din imamas is reversible. Give the money back, whatever it is. Yeah, move on. Even though the Abishah says he's upset that he has to pay out money that the Dayanim were corrupt are doing, but it's always reversible. Din in the fashion. Not only affecting this person because we're gonna kill the person, but all of his potential children and everything else. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he killed the Mitzri, Rashi says that he looked to see there's no descendants in the future that might be worthy of saving this person for. Cain killed his brother. It says that Kol Demei. in plural. Achicha tzaikim. Einu oime dam achicha, the blood of your brother. El demei achicha, in plural, the blood. Damai v'dam zera oisav, his blood and the blood of his future children. The Rebbe used to say that when you throw a child out of a yeshiva, you have to realize he's not just throwing him out; he's throwing out all his future generations as well. To think about it, consider it much more serious. You want to see if it's a gay? Sorry? No. Shoban Kanan is Dina. Yeah, the Megadif. The Megadif next to Mekoshish it came from them. It's nobody good came out of it. That's what he said. He said no gay. Another word, another pshat is the mei achicha. There was a lot of blood all over the place. His blood was splattered all over the rocks and wood and stones. And we'll see them later. Why David should create Adam Rishon on his own? And this kind of flies in the face of Lingmar Erevin for one opinion there that Adam and Chabul created together, back to back. Remember we had the Machlekes Gemara there, the whole Gemara. And here the Mishnah says, a person was created on their own. To teach you. If you call hama abed nefesh achas misrol, if you kill chas v'shon one yid, ma'il because the entire world you destroyed. V'chol hamakayim nefesh achas misrol, that two gisois, whether it's Yisrael, some gisois don't even have the word Yisrael, just any person. And whoever enables a person to live, if you save the entire world. Another reason why Adam is created on his own, be shalom bias in the world. Why? So the person say, my Zayda was greater than your Zayda. We all have the same Zayda, Adam Rishon. Another reason is we don't want that precursor to use this as a proof. You see, every person was created by a different God. That's why there were 30 people in the world when the world started. There are many different, what do you call deities? Another reason is mystical. A number of reasons why to tell you the wonderment of the Eivshem. If you have a mint kulam, every coin is exactly the same. But the Eivshem, everyone is minted like Adam. Nobody's similar to each other. Very interesting tshuva in the Neighborhood, and I can't tell you right now where it is, but I remember seeing it a long time ago, where the person who asked the Neighborhood a question, when the Mishnah says here that no two people are the same, doesn't mean literally no two people are the same. Most people are not the same, but it's possible to have two people that are the same, and he brings some Gemaras there about two sisters, whatever. Remember, Rashi says, don't kill one sister by the Saito, send another sister in. And Neighborhood says, what are you talking about? The Mishnah says there's no two people the same. Very interesting too. I'll find it if I remember where it is. About this mission. Take it literally now. After all this intimidation, the angel will say, "What? Why should I get involved?" Yeah. Gemara said, "No, Mishnah, no. We should know you're doing a mitzvah. Like you'll say, but why should I be the one culpable of killing another yid? You tell me a yid is killing the whole world. If the Bezin declares that he's a Rasha, he's a Rasha. And we're happy. Second about Torah, what do you mean? You tell him, did you see it or do you surmising? He says, maybe this is what you saw. You ran after circumstantial evidence. You saw somebody running into a churba, into some ruins over there. You chased after him, so you weren't there at B'Shas Ma'aseh. You found a knife in his hand, a dagger in his hand, and the knife is full of blood. The harder and the victim there is jumping around, twitching with it. Im Kachri, he said, that's all you saw. Ladies and klum. You can't come into our court and testify you saw him murdered. It's a pelting a finger. Tanya learned. Said, I shouldn't see any consolations like a euphemism. I saw one Takasama running, but I saw this exact situation. The blood was dripping down. The only one here, you and me. Who killed him? It wasn't me. I can't do anything about it. You must have made him. I want to know the Abish is going to take care of you. For killing that person, but I can't do anything about it. They say a snake came along and bit him, and he died from the poison. And that's Sreifa. That's tantamount to Sreifa. The mace. Why does Sreifa, killing somebody, you get Sayif, you don't get Sreifa. We had it a few times already. The Yom Shechara Beis HaMikdash, from the day Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Av Bishop Bottle Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin were bottled, Arba Misle bottle, but the Abish still exacts the punishment that you deserve. Like bottle, Vabatlu, which was like bottle, Vabatlu. And the Din Arba Misle bottle, the punishment itself will take place. Mishan is Chaya Skila, when they throw you off. Oy Neufel Minagag, you fall off a roof, a Chaya Dersosa, because when you fall down, the rock fall you, it tramples all over you. Mishan is Chaya Sreifa, Oy Neufel Badilika, you fire on a fire, Oy Nochash Machishay, poison is fire. And that's why we're wondering why this Ritzeach got bitten by a snake. It's the wrong punishment. Mishan Chaya Badega and Yisrael Malchus, either given over to the king, because that's what they do, they decapitate you, or at least in Boy in your love, they decapitate you. And Mishan Chaya Chenek, strangulation, Oy Teveva, no, you drown, I mace Misanuchis from diphtheria. I'm going to answer who this person committed another sin, a stricter one. Sreifa is, we hold Sreifa is stricter than interesting taste over here. Why does say Yom Shechara Beis HaMikdash? First, that's an interesting question. So how can we see so many people commit terrible avedas, Chil Shabbos, nothing happens to them? So Taisa says in our Girsa, interesting. I'll just quote what Taisa says. Yeshloimer, this chus mila toila. If a Yid is a Gemalit, that already protects him from his own Avedis, punishment of own Avedis. A good reason why we should, because I don't know if you know what's going on now. A lot of people don't want to, they think it's like in Iceland, they banned circumcision. A lot of Eden now, unfortunately, say it's wrong, it's cruel, it's what do you call it? Abuse, child abuse. And then they says, we look more Kedusha, that in Schar of other mitzvahs we decide to pay him back in this world, doesn't get another world. And then another thing, he said, why talk about today? What about this man based in Migdash if there were no Eidim? I mean, the same thing would happen. So Taisa says that the big day kahuna protected them from the punishment. The big day kahuna protected them from the thing. But then Taisa says, only they do tshuva. It sounds from here, the Mishnah says only by din of fashists we ask these questions. And din of we allow witnesses to come in and circumstantial evidence. Well, I said, it must be, according to one host, by Dini Mamanus, we're much more relaxed, and circumstantial evidence is good enough. Marshal must be Rabacha. Rabacha who argues the Chachamim. What's the Meister Bacha? If you see a camel there, according to Rashi, has two interpretations. Either he bit another camel, or he was having intimate relations. Like camels are very tzniazdik, and if anybody else was witnessing what they were doing, they would give a copper, they would give a kick, a zetz, and they would kill, because they were very modest. Another camel, they're lying a victim. But you do watch the harga. Definitely, this camel killed it, and you have to compensate. So when it comes to money matters, you didn't see it. Circumstances is good enough. So our Mishnah holds that. Well, time to answer a question. Some of the other questions we asked by Din Fosh, did you hear it from another person? According to your diak, by Din Mamas would accept Aid and fetish not. We learned about it before. Only if the called me over and you said you both my Adim and this is my admission. But Nani Mamar who Amali Shani Khayli I'm Khayb each playing Amali Shu Khayb you have to call them out for witness. So there's no difference in Imam in the Fashas. So our Mishnah also holds regarding circumstantial evidence is no different than Imam in the Fashas. Not like no, so why are you highlighting in the Fashas? Shuchayim says Alma Avagad the Field in the Mamas and in the Fashas. How can I me too? Avagad the Field in the Mamas and in the Fashas. You're right. It's a disqualification by Dinei Mamas, Dinei Fashas, but we don't intimidate them, Dinei Mamas. We don't raise it till they start giving testimony. Here, before even they start, we tell them you should know circumstantial evidence is not accepted, and APA is not accepted, even though these Dinei are uniform in both. Have a yadim, you should know. We're going to cross-examine you. And we tell them you should know. Realize if you're going to kill somebody, an innocent person, look what you're doing. You know why it says the May? Not the reason the Mishnah says because you're killing all the future generations. It's because he kept on, he didn't know where to kill him. He kept on, taking a knife and stabbing him. You hear people on the radio stabbed 7, 10, 15 times and they're recovering in the hospital. Depends where you stab. Wounds and stabs and stab wounds. So they didn't know how to kill him. Until finally he thrust it in his savorin, in his neck. One say it's hot. From the day that the earth opened its mouth to makabel the blood of Hevel, never opened again. What do you mean never opened again? What it did was when blood today, Chas v'sholom, somebody's blood spills out on the ground, it gets absorbed in the ground, but there's always a stain. There's always a mark. Mashenk by Hevel, the earth opened up and it completely absorbed all the blood. Now, it did it for a good reason. Didn't want to be a constant sign or reminder of the first murder. It did it for good intentions. So it never happened again. So now it says, from the corner of the world we heard songs. Tzavi la tzaddik, the desires of the tzaddik. From the corners of the earth, but no longer from the mouth of the earth, his midas. Oh, tomorrow, last a second. Beautiful tastes there, but I'll wait till tomorrow to talk about it. Very interesting tastes. Chizkiah brothers asked, it said, what are you doing? We have a number of stories where also might say with Yehuda, with this guy, he was a rich, I won't go late, but a guy wanted to force the Yehuda to marry him as a kohen to a gerusha, and he was very well with the government, and the government forced him to do it, and I think it was Yehuda. And he was in a spell that he shouldn't have to, and the earth opened up, and he fell in. It was like an earthquake all of a sudden, and he disappeared. So it happens now. The teva, but it must be by Hevel. It was l'teva, because there should be the reminder shouldn't be there. Golus is mechaper half. If you go to Golus, that's why you find so many tzaddikim used to go to Golus, self Golus. You see, Cain said no, not both wandering and going about. Yosha he only did one because he went to Golus. Cain. Remember, it says, Yirmiyah said, if you're going to stay in the Shalayim, this is what's going to happen. Yomus, you're going to die. So 3 different ways, but either a sword, or a famine, or a plague. But if you go out and the Nafal Kazim go to Babel, which you'll be kasha in prison, that are surrounding you, the Chaya, you'll live. Okay, you'll be oppressed, but you'll live. And so what is he from here clearly? That going to Golus saves you from 3 different things, from all of them. At least it doesn't save you from completely because you're still going to be a prisoner. But it definitely ameliorates everything. That he will what? That right over here about this person that he will never be matzliach, that he won't have any children. He will never be matzliach. Why? He won't be successful. He won't be successful. David Yehuda. That what? He won't have any children. He will have no successors. Nobody will be pretenders to his throne. But a boss of the Gola after Yachin went into Golus, see it says Bnei Yechanya suddenly had children, Osir and Shaltiel. So what do we see from here? Because he went to Golus, Yachin, and Yechanya, he had children. So we say Golus is Mechaper al Hakoil. Now these strange names, Osir, which means prisoner, Shaltiel means he's sort of davened to Hashem. What's going on here? But Shaltiel, Osir she barta ime beis hasurin. That while Yechanya was in jail, they dropped down what do they call those rights, conjugal rights, and she was impregnated. And Shaltiel sheshaslu kel. But the Abish had to intervene. Why did the Abish have to intervene? That she became pregnant not the normal way. It's impossible for a woman to fall pregnant when she's standing. Because the prison cell, as Asher says, was so narrow, and they were standing, and yet he was able to pregnant her. Because now they went to Golus, he was mechap for whatever he did. The Eibishter said you won't have any children. And now the Eibishter himself was shoyal to his bezin Pamaya Shomaila that he take back his neder so that he can have children. And there's a bubble, and what's this child they had? There's a bubble as well. Shenizra be bubble, because he was born in bubble. But Mashmoy, this is an amazing Gemara. I'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. What's his name? Nehemiah Bechachauya. So Nehemiah and Zerubbabel, says our Gemara here, is the same person. When you learn Tanakh, it's clear when it talks about all the oily bubble Tedrasrol. It says Zerubbabel, Ezra, Nehemiah.
Zerubbabel refers to the Jewish people.
Yeah, but here he's saying that this person is Nehemiah Chachauya. So how can the Zerubbabel and Nehemiah be the same person? Tanakh is clearly not the same person. And Ben Chachauya means, they say, is Ben Clear, the son of the one who was supposed to be an eyelid, not to have any children. Yechanya, not to have any children. Really, he's Ben Yechanya. So Zerubbabel, sorry, Nehemiah was the son of Yechoniah, which is Zerubbabel. It's one and the same person. Yeah, Menchachal Yishmoi. And we'll talk about this. We have time tomorrow. Continue tomorrow.